computer. Okay, so this is really special for Caroline Leavitt. I'm going to interview by video one of my favorite writers and favorite people in the world, Joyce Maynard, for her wonderful new book called, let me hold it up, The Best of Us. And it is coming out, Joyce, when is it coming out? What's the date?
September 5th.
September 5th. Okay, so
I feel like I've been waiting forever for this. I know I really haven't.
It's an amazing book. It's an absolutely incredible book. And I didn't want to do just a regular print Q&A with Joyce because I love the book so much. Anyway, Joyce is the author of 15 books, including To Die For, At Home in the World, which is translated into 12 languages. Labor Day was both a bestseller and it was also a really terrific movie by Jason Reitman, starring Kate Winslet and Josh Brolin, and starring pies. After it was released...
I should say that Josh owes all of his pie baking abilities to me.
Oh, really?
Yes, I was his teacher.
She's the mother of 3 grown children. She teaches at writing programs. She says stories about the moth. And this latest book is just... It's going to crack your heart open. She got married in June 2013 after 25 years as a single person, and she virtually married her soulmate. And he died in June 2016. And the book is about that. It's about life, love, being lovers, having adventures together. I feel like this is a crack your heart open read. When you finish it, it makes you feel like you want to love harder, see each moment more deeply, just feel more. And I thought that what made this book so absolutely profound to me is that there are heartbreaking moments of loss in it, but there's also sublime moments of happiness that sort of sparkle through it. It's like the yin and the yang. So can you talk about that, please, Joyce?
Oh, sure. I do. I mean, I don't cry when I think about Jim. I smile when I think about Jim. I cry also sometimes, but I never see The Best of Us as a cancer memoir, although I think it probably will speak to people who have had cancer in their lives, whose lives are affected by cancer, and that's so many of us. But I think of it as a love story more than that. And it's really a story about my discovery of how to be married, what marriage is. This was a second marriage for me, for both of us, after a long, long stretch of knocking around on my own. I raised my 3 kids, mostly as a single parent. And even when Jim and I married, although it was a super romantic thing, we were up on a hillside in New Hampshire, I had a garland in my hair, and we sang a George Jones song and a John Prine song to each other, and we danced. We hopped on a motorcycle. We drove all around New England. But I didn't really know what marriage was until I saw mine at threat of being lost.
Can you talk more about that? What do you think marriage is?
Well,
now
I should say first what I thought it was. It was
right.
I think addicted to drama and to my idea of romance, which was probably formed by, a lot of rock and roll songs and movies. And we had a very romantic relationship, and there's nothing particularly romantic about cancer. But what I came to understand was what it means to care about a person more than you care about yourself. I knew about that as a parent, but not as a partner, an adult partner. I used to just jealously guard my time and freedom to work. No matter what, I didn't let anything get in the way of my work day. I trained myself. I had to. I've been a full-time writer since I was 16.
Right.
And suddenly, days, weeks, months, and then well over a year went by that I did not have an hour that was mine often. And I surprised my own self with the way that I was able to surrender to that. It goes without saying, it wouldn't have been what either one of us chose. But I didn't touch I touched my laptop to do research on pancreatic cancer is what I did.
Right.
I had a book about 9/10 finished when we got Jim's diagnosis, and there it sat.
How difficult was it to write this book? I mean, was it healing? Eventually, I imagine it was healing, but there must have been parts too where you felt, I can't do this.
No, it was the only thing I could do, Caroline. It was.
That's interesting.
And I always say when a friend suggests how healing it was, and it was, you're exactly right, that nobody should pay $25 for my catharsis. That's not fair. I have to do that. So I hope I hope it is. Well, I always want to tell a good story and a helpful story, but after Jim died, this could seem very odd to a person who isn't a writer. I bet you will understand. I started to write this book the day he died, the morning he died.
I read that in your book. I was actually just rereading the last chapter before I got to you, and it's so beautifully written, and it's such a deep love.
It's what I've done all my life, is to not just tell the story, but you can't tell the story until you understand the story. It's my way of making sense of what happened.
Right.
The most comforting thing. I could no longer talk to Jim, so I could talk about Jim and talk about what happened, and I did it obsessively. It was all I did. The hard part actually was letting it go. You know, Caroline, I didn't want it to end, and
Right.
When I got to that last page, then he was really going to be gone.
Do you talk to him in your head? Even if he doesn't answer? Okay.
Forget about in my head, in the car. The car. We spent a lot of time in the car.
Okay,
this around New England and California, and then going to doctor's appointments. But I feel, sadly, I don't have this sort of otherworldly presence of a lost people that some people speak of. I wish I did. I listen for it, and I don't dismiss at all the experiences of people who've had it. But I do. He is a constant presence for me, and I know. I said how much I was looking forward to this book. This will be hard. I'm going to go all around the country, reading a little from the book. I prefer to talk and answer questions. Mm-hmm. But I will be diving right into the wave that hit me, that knocked me over.
Right.
I think I will also treasure it, because it's never been my way to avoid strong feeling. So mm-hmm. I'm going to have some, and I welcome it.
It's a terrible thing that people tend to be cracked open and learn much more during really painful times than the happy times. Yeah. So how do you think you've changed?
Well, I think I'm a kinder person. I know I'm a more patient person. Mm-hmm. Nothing like living in a hospital. And basically I sort of lived in a hospital with Jim for a bunch of those times, to slow you down. And walking beside a person who was always a very nimble, quick person, who now walks very, very slowly. But in a deeper way, those are the surface changes, I guess. I feel the preciousness of my life. Mm-hmm. He didn't get to make use of the lessons of this experience. I think I say in the book, if only you could learn the lessons. But I didn't get cancer. Somebody I loved so much got cancer. So I will take those lessons, and if I don't make something better of myself from them, then what a waste that has been.
Yeah, I think that's.
And you know that. I know that you endured a terrible loss very early in your life.
I did. Oh, are you hearing an echo, or is it just me?
Maybe it's the wind off the lake.
No. I heard my voice echoing. I guess it stopped now. Yeah, and the thing that I learned was actually that as horrible as it is to have somebody you love die, there really is a lesson in it, in that you really are cracked open. And I always felt that I learned to recognize that same quality in other people, and those were the people who I wanted to be close with.
Yes.
You know, because I knew we'd have this deeper friendship and deeper
My
understanding.
world has changed. My world has changed. And,
Hmm.
you know, there are people, and I don't fault them for this, but there are people who just don't know what to say to you.
Right.
And the truth is, they don't have to say much of anything.
Right. They just have to listen. They just have to actually be there. Just be there and sit there and listen, and then you feel the connection.
And acknowledge what has happened.
Right. Exactly.
I want to hear his name spoken. I want to hear, you know, that he's remembered, that this is acknowledged. We are bearing witness to a person who lived on this earth, lived in my heart, and I'm not going to spend, you know, I'm 63 years old. That still feels young. I will move forward in my life, and I cannot make my life a sort of a, you know, an endless homage.
Right. No, you can't. There's a lot of time left, and that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you, because I feel like you've loved without boundaries, and science shows that people who love that way most usually are able to love again, almost in a deeper way. Do you think about that at all, or?
Oh, sure. Oh, sure.
Okay, good.
And you know, there are people I've heard, and I know from friends who, you know, have a partner who had a terminal illness, whose husband said to them things like, you know, I want you to remarry.
Right.
And Jim would never have said that to me.
Well, that's kind of sweet.
Couldn't have borne the thought of it. But Jim wanted more than anything in the world to make me happy.
To make you happy.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the hardest part for him, well, there were a whole lot of hard parts, but one of the hard parts, I remember he said to me, very near the end, he said, it's not dying I miss so much. That's so hard for me. It's the thought of leaving you. I think what he meant was leaving me alone. Not that, I mean, I'd been alone much of my life. I know how to be alone, and anybody who's a writer knows how to be alone.
Oh yeah.
But, I learned rather late in life that I enjoyed not being alone. That was the revelation.
That's lovely. That's a lovely revelation.
I discovered that I really liked having somebody there.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And I didn't think I would. I was always, in the early days of our marriage, as you know from the book, I had this very sort of naive image that I was going to just carry on my life exactly as it was before, except that there'd be this really nice, smart, funny, handsome man to pick me up at the airport from whatever my most recent adventure was. And that was what he did. And he didn't complain about it. But I thought I could just sort of carry on with him as this great addition to my life. Not that was my life. That was my life.
Are you writing a new novel now, or a new book?
I am. That's what I'm doing here this summer, I hope.
Oh, excellent. Where are you, by the way? It's absolutely gorgeous.
New Hampshire. I tell the story in the, you know, I live most of the year in the Bay Area, but I come from New Hampshire. And when, I was going to say when Jim was dying, but I never acknowledged that Jim was dying at this point. But when Jim was very, very sick, something took hold of me. I did a little Google search. I just typed in Lake House, New Hampshire.
Okay.
It was my fantasy. It was my little escape that I did. And all these real estate listings came in that I couldn't begin to afford, and I didn't want them anyway. They weren't my lake house. And I hadn't worked for 2 years, and neither had Jim. But I think I was very comforted by the picture of some other place.
Yeah.
And then one day this house popped in. Maybe I can turn around and show you. Let's see if this is going to
work. Good. Let's see.
Yes.
Oh
okay,
my God.
Okay.
Wow.
If I was designing what I would have found on my Lake House, New Hampshire search, it would have been this. And
it's amazing.
This unspoiled house that had been in one family for 50 years on a dirt road in New Hampshire where the only cars that ever come are coming because they come to see me. My dog sleeps in the middle of the road on the shores of a quiet little lake that is 20 minutes from where my daughter lives and right down the road from the farm stand that Jim and I buy corn. And it was the cheapest one. It was the only one I could even think about.
It's like fate. It's fated. It was fated to be yours.
This is a story that's actually less about real estate than about Jim. I looked at the house every day for months. It was just my little moment of escape. And then on New Year's Eve, the last New Year's Eve we had together, 2015, at about what would have been 8 p.m. Eastern time, I just picked up the phone and called the realtor and made a really crazily low offer on this house. And 10 minutes later, he called me back and said, yes, okay. And I walked into the house. I was out in my office where I write, or what I wasn't writing. I was just looking at this house. I walked back in and I said, Jimmy, I just bought a house on a lake in New Hampshire. And the first thing he said was, oh, that's great, baby. You know, for a little while, we talked about how we were going to come here in the summer and he was going to sit on the porch and smoke a cigar. And I'm a swimmer. I was going to swim every morning, 6 a.m. And then we just stopped talking about it and I stopped mentioning it because I knew that he wasn't going to make it here. And about 10 days after Jim died, I got on a plane. I bought the house sight unseen, understand?
Right. Oh, that's incredible.
But I come from New Hampshire and I know a good house when I see one.
Right.
And so I got on a plane and a friend picked me up and brought me here. And it was just exactly what I knew it would be. And that's where I wrote The Best of Us last summer. And that's where I came back this summer with my dog.
Oh, how wonderful. Okay, so one last question. What question didn't I ask that you'd like to talk about? Or is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
Oh my goodness, what question? And I should have been prepared for this because this is your big
I always ask people that.
Yes.
Okay, if you don't want to answer that, then answer what's obsessing you now and why? That's the other question I ask.
Oh, what's obsessing me? Well, I'm pretty obsessed with what's going on in the world.
I know. Me too.
The world beyond my world. And the world that will be my children's and now grandchild's world. Mm-hmm. I have a grandchild that I didn't have a year ago. On a more personal level, I think I'm obsessed with locating goodness. I look for goodness, you know. Yeah. There's nothing that is more comforting than finding it wherever I can find it. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to be.
I totally agree with you. I think kindness is everything.
This has nothing to do with any of that, but so one of the things that happens when you look death in the eye, and you know, boy, it's true for all of us, whether we get a diagnosis or not, that our time is limited and short, is you decide you're going to do the things you always wanted to do. And I've always wanted to write songs. And I love to sing. And I don't play the guitar, but I this summer, I signed myself up for a songwriting camp.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And some people said, well, how are you going to do that? You don't play the guitar. And I thought maybe I'll learn to play the ukulele really fast.
Oh yeah, I have one. You can do it. It's easy. Go ahead.
And I'm going to learn, but I didn't learn in time for my Steve Earle camp. But then I said to myself, you know what? Everybody else at that camp is going to play the guitar and maybe they won't all know how to write. So I went to camp and I was just on fire. I loved my songwriting camp. I loved writing songs. I wrote 2 songs. The first.
Can you sing one?
Maybe I'll try to sing one. The first one is a 3-minute version of this book. It's basically the story of Jim and me. Oh, this is going to be embarrassing because I don't have my guitar.
No, it's not. It's going to be wonderful and real.
See if I can get a tune going. I called you my guard dog. You called me your queen. After years on the highway, I came in from the rain. You built us a fire, dear. I cooked you a meal. We fed our desires here. It was real. It was real. Well, that's the first verse. And it goes on.
You have a great voice. Did you know that?
In 4 verses, I tell the story of what became a 400-page book. And the chorus is, I'll sing you the chorus. Okay.
Okay, sing the chorus.
Can we stop for a second while I look up those lyrics, or does that not work?
I don't know how to stop and start it. I'm kind of technical.
This is my big chance to sing my song. Let me see.
Well, you know what? You can send me the lyrics and I'll post it along with the video.
Okay. That would be
great. That would be great.
Actually, nobody has asked me to sing my song for.
Your voice is so great. It's got this very smoky quality to it. That's wonderful.
I love to sing, and when there's a guitar next to me, then I feel a little more confident.
Oh my God! Well, I want to show the picture of your book again.
Right.
Okay, everybody should pre-order this. In fact, you want to pre-order a lot of copies because it's that wonderful. It's really.
I want to tell you something about
yes.
If a person isn't going to be somewhere where I'm going on book tour and they can't come to a reading, I will sign, and I make drawings when I sign, a personalized book plate for anybody who goes to the special link that will be on my website soon. They show that they've ordered the book, and a book plate will be sent to them.
That's wonderful. That's great.
Not quite up yet, but it will be soon.
Joyce,
it airs, it'll be up.
I could sit here and talk to you all day, but I think the tape is running out.
Wouldn't it be nice if you were just sitting on this porch, Caroline?
I want to swim in that lake.
Are you a swimmer too? I start every day, 6 a.m. I just dive in, and that's the beginning of my reading.
It's incredible. It's incredible. I actually was never a swimmer until I went to Oahu with my son and husband last year. And there was a waterfall, and you had to swim through all these currents to get to it, and there were lifeguards. And I thought, I don't know. And my son said, you know what? You're never going to be here again. And you're never going to be here again with me. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And it was the most glorious moment.
About every single experience.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, I'm going to give you a kiss and hug. I'm going to stop the recording. Hold on.